Greetings, my favorite humans. So I finally figured out how to get rid of the blur, but that didn't mean I could get rid of the sun, but that's okay because it's been the solstice. So we had our Alban Hefin, which is summer solstice, and it's been an incredible time. And I have so many stories to tell you, but I have to narrow it down to one because otherwise we'll be here all day. So yesterday I played with some of my Piper brothers at a service for a guy who died 12 years ago. Can you imagine? He died 12 years ago, and his ashes were never picked up by the at the coroner's office, and they've been just sitting there on a shelf for 12 years. And he had been in the late 80s, early 90s. He had been a volunteer firefighter at a very small volunteer fire company, and he had been very active, and he was, I think, the chief of the fire police, which are the folks that close traffic and stuff. And he was really involved, and he was really into it, and well loved. In speaking to like the captain now and the captain that was captain then, said probably today he'd be considered a little bit on the spectrum, a little quirky, a little weird. Eventually, he met a girl, and then he left the fire company, and then I guess he moved away. And they knew he had died 12 years ago, the firefighters. They knew that, but no services were posted or anything. But he wasn't volunteering there anymore, and they had all lost touch with him because the wife. They just weren't part of it anymore. So anyway, so one of the pipers in our band saw the list from the coroner's office of remains that haven't been claimed, and like one of them goes back to 1988, and but on this list he saw the name of this guy, and they knew that the guy had been an only child, and he had been in his 50s when he passed, so likely his parents had passed. He didn't have children of his own, although the wife had a daughter, so he may have had a stepdaughter, but they think that maybe he had been divorced, maybe, or separated or estranged from the wife or whatever. They didn't really know because he wasn't around anymore. But anyway, Joe, the guy who saw the name, said, well, we can't let him stay there. He was at one time a brother. He went away, but he was at one time a brother to us in the fire department. So they made arrangements with the Lehigh County coroner, and we had a service for him, or they had a service for him, and Joe asked for some volunteer pipers to come and play, and so a small group of us and one of our drummers went and we played, and we had a final goodbye for this man who died 12 years ago. And I was thinking, wow, first of all, it's heartbreaking that anybody, I mean, there's a list of like 12, 14 people on this list of unclaimed remains. And it is heartbreaking to think that people come and go from this life without having a final goodbye. And usually, like, I firmly believe this, the goodbye is for us. The person has gone to spirit, so they're in light and they're in love, so they're in a good place, but the goodbyes are for us. But to not have anybody to say goodbye on your behalf, or to miss you when you're gone, like that really like tugs at my heart. And it ties back to earlier in the week on Monday. I had gone to a funeral service of a woman that I went to high school with. And I didn't know her that well in high school. She was the older sister to a friend of mine who I hung around with quite a lot. And he was another piper, and but I got to know her later, and as an adult, because we worked together at the same college. And she was just an amazing person, just creative and funny, and just witty, and just great, just a great person. And she had a very quick bout with cancer, and she was diagnosed, and within a year, less than a year, she had passed on, and it was aggressive. They found it when it was stage 4, and it only 55 years old, and she died on I think like 2 days after her 55th birthday, on her parents' 56th anniversary, which was 55 years to the day they brought her home from the hospital. And I mean, it just tugs at your heart. I want to cry right now just even thinking about it. because it just seems so unfair. I mean, cancer just sucks. My father had 5 different kinds, and it just sucked to watch him go through it. And I would only say that it's grace that she didn't have to suffer long, because my dad suffered long with it, with all the, I mean, he had different cancers, and they, like they tried stuff and it didn't work, and it was just, and my stepmother was having a really hard time dealing with it, so she was trying to keep him alive, and I recognized that it was time for to him to go to the glory of God. It was time for him to go to the light. She had a harder time with that. So in thinking about all of the love and all of the people, I mean, it poured like mad on Monday, but there we all were. And I was thinking Mary would be looking at us, laughing at us, because we were like fighting with umbrellas because it was pouring so hard. But I was thinking, like, she had such a tremendous outpouring of love from friends and family. She's had this core group of friends since she's a child. They've done fun stuff, and I have 2 best friends that I grew up with, my friend Terry and my friend Liz. But she had this core group of friends that she played field hockey with and was in the band with, and they would have these fun like parties and picnics, and they were just all a great group of people together and individually. And I thought, what a warm and loving send off she had, in such stark contrast to Wayne, who had nobody to pick up his ashes. But it's never too late to do the right thing. Joe saw that name. He said he was a brother of ours at one time, and he may have gone away. But like the prodigal son, like, we have to bring him home. We have to give him a send off. We have to, and so it was so touching. There, the fire company has changed, of course, over the years, and he was involved in the late '80s, but they were there, standing there are the volunteers, the young people, in their 20s, standing at attention in their firefighter dress clothes, I don't know what that's called, their dress uniform, standing at attention and, doing at arms and stuff. And, they didn't know this guy, but they were there, and they had the fire truck out and the big flag on the ladder and stuff, which they do. I played a lot of firefighter funerals, and they treated him as if he had just passed away yesterday, and they gave him the same dignity and respect. So I was thinking about that, and I was been thinking about the solstice, and I did a rune reading for the solstice, and it was dismal. I did a Celtic Cross. Center stone was Isa. What's coming into Isa was the dice cup, Perthro, and then what our forces we can't control was Hagalaz, which is chaos. And I do feel that's where the world is right now. Like, we feel so unsettled with all the things that are going on, not just in our country, but worldwide. There's a lot of just like anxiety and tension and fear, what's coming. And then, the stone that brings you out of it, like what brings us out of it, was Tiwaz, which is sound, just leadership. And, I don't belong to any political parties, or the major 2 here in the States. I'm not political. I know YouTube always thinks these are political videos, but they're not, because I'm not political. But what's going to take rising, and getting people toward light is good, sound, leadership of people who have humanity at its heart. And then the potential outcome was Othala. Like, we're going to gain wisdom, right? We're going to gain wisdom, and it is going to turn out okay. So at church today, and I've just, if you're new to the channel, I have a complicated relationship with church, but I was thinking about the readings, and the first reading for the epistle, which it's like your first lesson, was about I can't remember his name, Elijah. Queen Jezebel like told him like she was coming for him, so he went to a cave, and he's hiding in this cave, and God's like, dude, what are you doing in there? And he's like, well, I did a great job, and I tried to fight for your kingdom, and now they're coming for me. And God's like, okay. And then he's like, and then there was like an earthquake, and there was thunderstorm. There's like all kinds of weather stuff, fire stuff, and but God wasn't in any of those things. Those bad things happened, but God wasn't part of those things. And when they were all over, he's in the cave, and God's like, "Dude, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Well, I'm afraid." He's like, "Well, you don't have to be afraid. Go back out there. Get back out there. Do good stuff. Go do good stuff. That bad stuff isn't from me. That bad stuff is just that's bad stuff that happens. But you have, my blessing, and you've had the angels help you, with food and water all this time for 40 days. Like you have, spirit in you. Go and use your spirit. Don't hide. You have to go lead." And it kind of tied over to the gospel message, which it was from Mark. I can't remember who was involved there, but it was, I know I'm going to get this wrong, but the gist of it is, I don't want to sum it up because I'll probably get it wrong because I'm not good at all this stuff. The gist I got from the whole lesson today was that none of us can change the world. None of us can. Not by ourselves, right? Like on our own, and it makes us feel so small. And we want to run away. We want to hide. We want to go to the nearest cave and be like, "I'm staying here until all of that's over." But you can't. We can't. We have to do what we can as single people, as an individual, whatever little light we can bring, whatever little candle we can hold, whatever goodness we can do. That's what brings light into the world. All of our little candles together will bring light and love into the world, and that's hard. It's hard when it's dark and stormy. It's hard when things are just so chaotic around us. But we have it in us to bring light and love and joy, and to do the right thing, even when it feels like it's going to be useless. I mean, did it matter to Wayne that we had this service for him? No, he's been in the spirit world for 12 years, right? Doesn't matter to him, but it matters to us. And what we leave behind is memory. When they were talking about Wayne and telling the stories, apparently he was quite a character. When they were telling stories about him, I mean, he had an impact on people's lives. And the chief said that his number one thing was to make people laugh. He wanted to make people laugh. And they remembered that. 12 years later, which was actually longer because he had been out of the fire company, right? So 15, 20 years later, what they remembered about him was that he really wanted to make people laugh and bring joy. And what a great legacy that is, right? So whatever little thing you can do to bring joy, light, and love into this world, it's worth it. Don't hide in a cave. Don't hide behind fear. Stand out. Hold your candle boldly. And I know that's hard to remember and it's hard to think about when things seem so scary, but all of us, we help each other. And if I see you holding your candle, I might hold up my candle a little bit higher. And then we get more people to light their candles and hold them. And no matter what wind blows, we know that God or spirit or whatever it is you believe in, it's with us. That force of good, that power of light, it's with us. So I am wishing you all the very best in light and love. Be well. Happy Alband Hefin, Alband Hefin, and our solstice, summer solstice. And I'm wishing you all the best in light and love. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.